Hi everyone, I have been asked to do a video on the topic of gaslighting, which is either gaslighting someone else or gaslighting ourselves. So let me start off with the definition for gaslighting. It is an emotional psychological manipulation. Essentially, it's when someone sows the seeds of doubt in another person or makes them question themselves, whether it's question their memory of something that happened or their perception of what they think happened. It can evoke cognitive dissonance, and cognitive dissonance is when someone is living two contradictory beliefs or definitions or thoughts or whatever. And gaslighting, when you're gaslighting, you're playing on someone's insecurities, and it's very often a deliberate and blatant, like obvious dishonesty. So telling an obvious lie, but doing it with so much conviction and confidence that whoever you're lying to questions whether you're actually maybe telling the truth, because how would someone possibly lie to me so obviously? And basically, essentially, it's bullying, different forms of bullying, and often what will happen is they'll get other people involved and target one person and bully them. All right, so all in all, it's a pretty ugly thing. However, the reality is that a lot of us do it. Maybe not only, or maybe not a lot to each other, but we definitely do it to ourselves. I know that I do it to myself. Like, did I lock the car? I know that I actually did lock the car, but as soon as I ask myself the question, did I lock the car, I doubt myself, and I have to go and check if I locked the car or push the lock button again or whatever. And I find also when you're talking to someone who you have a shared past with, so let's say someone who's been your friend for a long time or your partner, and you're talking about this thing that happened and you remember things differently to each other, which is kind of normal. It's, memories are not necessarily very reliable. They change over time, and they also are dependent on our perception of a thing, our interpretation of a thing, our understanding of a thing. So any two people will never have exactly the same memory of an event. So when you're talking to someone and you're talking about this thing that happened and you're talking about how you remember it differently, and the one person says, no, this and this and this happened, and then you say, no, that and that and that happened, and just because the other person has a different memory, what happens to me is then I'll go, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Maybe it's me. Am I remembering it wrong? Is that actually how it happened? And there's a difference between doing that in the sense of just like a self-check to say there is the possibility that such a thing happened, but there's not necessarily any self-judgment. There's no it's like self-doubt can almost be like an emotional state where you feel kind of confused and lost and like you can't trust yourself, versus self-questioning from the standpoint of checking with yourself, of making sure that you're being honest with yourself, and without that like emotional element. So what happens with me is sometimes I'll go into that emotional kind of self-doubt and I'll be like, can I really trust myself? Did things happen differently to how I remember? And now I think here's the most common thing that we do to ourselves is that bullying, that self-judgment, that breaking ourselves down of how could I have been so stupid, and what is wrong with me, and obviously it didn't work out. I was never going to work out because things never work out, because I'm such a failure, I'm such a retard, why do I even bother, etc., etc. And in some way or another, we all do that to ourselves. Now, there is a difference between now when we're dealing with this gaslighting ourselves, let's put it that way, or gaslighting someone else, or someone else doing it to us. When it's just me working with myself, and it's only me who's reacting, it's only me who's having these nasty thoughts, it is easier in a way, because I at least have power over what I do, what I think, what I say. I can choose to face myself. I can choose to drop the judgment and to really look at who am I and what am I doing in this moment. When there's someone else involved, it becomes difficult, especially if it's someone who you cannot get away from, like, for example, someone who's in your workplace, or a family member who's around a lot, or yeah, let's say one of those two scenarios, and you're unable to get away from that person. Let's say they're gaslighting you, or you're in school. School. Oh. What do you do? Well, it's not a nice situation. It's not an easy situation. And as much as we can develop our relationship with ourselves, having someone spew out nastiness at you and be dishonest to you and be ugly to you is not pleasant. So, first of all, let me make that clear. It's not fun. It's not nice to have to deal with. We cannot control the other person's behavior. We cannot control what they say or do, or how they do it, or what they're thinking. We also don't know their reasons for doing it. A lot of the time, someone who's doing that does it because there's an imbalance in their relationship with themselves. Maybe they're feeling powerless in some part of their life, and they like to feel in control and empowered by gaslighting other people. That's just one example. What we can do in that situation is remember, it's not about me. It's about the other person. This is a reflection of who they are. And we can turn it into an opportunity. As difficult and as challenging as it is, we can turn it into an opportunity and turn it into a gift, where every time I react to this person doing these nasty things, I can see where I have not yet forgiven myself. I can see where I have not yet cleared my relationship with myself, where I'm still judging myself, where I still am insecure, where I still doubt myself, where I'm still on shaky ground. And from that, focus on the solution of, okay, what can I do to correct this aspect of my relationship with me? And if you let yourself be grateful to that person for challenging you in this way, to keep facing yourself. And I know if you're going through this, you're probably like, what the hell? This person must just rather fuck off and die. You know what? That's what. They must just leave me alone and take their nasty crap elsewhere. If only it were that simple. Sorry. It's not going to happen, you know. if you have the option to cut someone like that out of your life, sure, do it. If that's what you want to do. But if you don't have that option to cut them out of your life, at the very least, you can change who you are in response to that person. You don't have to allow yourself to get depressed, to get sad, to hate yourself, to feel beaten down. You can address that aspect of how you're going to respond. And that has nothing to do with the other person either. That's all about me and my relationship with myself. That's what you make it about. It's all about you. Just like anyone cannot make me feel anything, even though the other person is being a complete arsewipe, they are showing you what's already inside of yourself. So practice that gratefulness towards this person, and remember that maybe what they need the most is forgiveness. Doesn't mean that you allow them to abuse you or be in your life if that is up to you. But maybe what they're unable to give to themselves is forgiveness. And at the very least, we don't have to hold on to the anger and resentment that's so easy to have towards people who are being nasty and cruel. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I hope that I've answered that question. As always, if there's any aspect or dimension you'd like me to go into more, or if you have any specific questions, the more specific you are, the more specific I can be to answer your question fully. Thank you very much for watching. You're going to see me next time.